Hi students, today we will be continuing with 10th standard history chapter 2. Last time during the lockdown period in the month of April we had taken up chapter 2 and now we start with historiography, Indian tradition, ancient period, that is 2.1, tradition of Indian historiography, ancient period and medieval period will be taken in this session. Okay children? First and foremost, let us first try to understand tradition of Indian historiography. Now, in chapter 1, if you remember very well, we had basically focused on the Indian historiography, we had focused on the Western tradition, whereas in this chapter, we are basically going to concentrate on the Indian tradition. Okay, children? Now, let us first try to understand historiography in the ancient period. Okay. Now, in ancient period, there were so many things. Okay, but the art of writing and records and all these particular things came on at a later stage. Okay, so historiography in the ancient period was basically known to the various historians through oral recitals. Okay, now oral recitals, it includes the ancestral deeds. Like, there are so many practices which we have even today in various particular religions of the world. For example, in Hinduism, what has come that is actually, sometimes they may not be having records, but it is a practice, a general practice which was normally found by the present generation, and it is like, coming from the earlier generation to the next generation, and from this generation to the forthcoming generation. So this is ancestral deeds, which is also an important way. It is mouth to mouth, or from one person to another. Second one is mythological folklores. Now we all know that mythology is also one important source of oral recitals, and most of these mythological folklores, they don't have any written records. Okay, it was like mouth to mouth, it was from one generation to another, and that's the reason the historiography in ancient period also focuses on these mythological folklores. Okay, let us take an example over here. When you talk about the folk dance and a classical dance, now classical dance, when we talk, we can name a few, like Bharatanatyam is the oldest classical dance. Now this dance has evidence. You can find all over the temples of South India, especially Bharatanatyam originated from the state of Tamil Nadu. So you can see over there everywhere in the various ancient temples during the times of the Pallavas, the Cholas, the Pandyans, all these rulers, the Nayaks, they all patronize this particular dance form. It can be found on various sculptures, and through that, okay, through Natya Shastra and through these sculptures, the various particular bhava bhangimas were evolved. That is why when we say classical dance, that means there is evidence. But when we talk about folk dance, that means it was practiced by my grandmother or grandfather or great grandfather, great grandmother, then it came to my mother, grandmother, and then it has come to me, and from me it is going to go. Like, for example, we can talk about tamasha, gaudan. All these are various particular Kolid Nrutya. Then we have Balya Nrutya in Maharashtra. These are all connected with mythology. Okay. Then we talk about social transitions. That means how the society had a transit from one era to another during various particular times. Okay. Then, of course, the Harappan civilization. When we talk about the Harappan civilization, we talk about one of the most ancient river valley civilization. Harappan civilization is now in the Sindh and Punjab region, West Punjab region of Pakistan, and this is one of the most ancient civilizations. And from these um civilizations, there were some particular oral records, okay, that came from one generation. Certain practices came from these Harappan people, the people of Mohenjo-daro, okay, or which is also called as the Indus or Sindhu Valley civilization. And you can find this evidence in the seals and coins and all those things, right? The next one is about the writing mastery. Now, writing mastery evolved at a very, very later stage. It was first verbally, and from verbal, the transition took place into the writing. And by the time the mastery of writing took place, then sky was the limit for exploring. And of course, the Harappan script. When we talk about the Harappan script, it was a very, very ancient script. Okay, it is more than 2500 BCE. So when you talk about 2500 BCE, when the whole world did not have much of writing, okay, India and the people of Sindhu Valley, they had their own script, okay. Now this script is much older to the Brahmi script or even Sanskrit script, which is also, Sanskrit does not have a script, it is called a Devanagari. Okay, Sanskrit is a language, but the script used in Sanskrit is Devanagari. Marathi, Hindi, they use this particular script. So the Harappan script is one of the most ancient scripts which was evolved, but what happened is that today also it cannot be deciphered, okay. But they say recent study which I have done about this tells me that the Harappan script, the script of the Sindhu Valley people, is very similar to ancient Sangam literature. Sangam literature means the Tamil literature. So it's coinciding with the Tamil language. Okay, we go on to the next slide. That is historiography in ancient period. The written documents in inscriptions. Now see, whatever written documents were there, they were all in inscriptions, you know, and all these inscriptions are basically popularized by the kings, the rulers, the rajas, maharajas, you know. They used to construct temples, and then afterwards they used to have those wall inscriptions, you know, during the times of, we can also call them as edits. So they used to, people used to mention that this particular construction of temple or this monument was constructed during the era of this particular king, like Krishna Devaraya, Rama Devaraya, or Tirumala Nayak, or Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, or Prithviraj Singh Chauhan, like this, okay. And this is basically evolved, the written documents in inscription evolved much later, that is 3rd century BCE, okay. Then excuse me, also this could be seen during the excavations of the various pillars of the great ruler of India, King Ashoka, Samrat Ashoka's reign. You can find this. The edicts of stone were found on stone pillars also, and rocks. Sarnath is one example. In UP there is one place called as Sarnath. All these edicts are found on the stone pillars and rocks about the written documents, the written documents in the form of inscriptions. Okay, we move on to the next one. Now the various changes which took place from first century CE, let us see that, okay. Now the first thing was about the inscriptions, okay. The inscriptions on the inscriptions are basically found on coins, you know, that means lots of metals were used, lots of coins were in vogue in those times. So, you know, Chhatrapati Shivaji's times also, his name, you know, the coronation when it took place on Raigad, at that point of time a coin was released, okay, which marks the coronation ceremony of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. Similarly, these inscriptions are also found on metals, okay, because metals, they are very durable and they are long lasting. Copper plates, of course, copper plates were very common. Copper plates are not only in India, but also if you see the Greek civilization, the Mayan civilization, Egyptian civilization, there also they could, we can find, sorry, not Egyptian civilization, the Sumerian civilization, these copper plates were found. Of course, sculptures so all over the world, it's a global concept, and India is no particular option out over here. Now, what do these provide? These provide historical information such as the reigns. Reigns means what? These inscriptions are providing you with number of things. Number one, reigns of kings and emperors. What do you mean by reigns? The rule, okay, the time period. of rule of various particular kings. For example, during whose reign the Battle of Panipat took place. Okay, so all this, when did when did the battle of Mysore take place? Okay, between whom? Okay, and who was the ruler at that point of time? In which part of India? All these reigns of kings and emperors are mentioned in that. Second one, these also provide historical information on dynastic genealogies. Now, what is this dynastic genealogy? Dynastic comes from the word dynasty, noun dynasty, and dynastic becomes the adjective. So, genealogy means which comes from the genes. So, one dynasty, we have various dynasties which ruled over India. Okay, we had the Nandas, we had the Cholas, we had the Shakyas, we had the Shalivahanas, we had the Satavahanas. Okay, like that, various dynasties which ruled across India, they are genealogy. Okay, like from if you talk about the king of Maharashtra, when we talk about Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. So who was his father? Okay, like that. Shahaji Raje Bhosle. From Shahaji Raje Bhosle, how did Shahaji Raje Bhosle come to Maharashtra? Because of Maloji Raje Bhosle, his father. So Maloji Raje, Shahaji Raje, then Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, then his children. You know, it goes on. That is called as the dynastic genealogies. The family study. Okay, his wives, his children, his step brother, Venkoji. Okay, Venkoji, because Maratha Empire was it expanded right from UP in North India, right up to Tamil Nadu in present Tamil Nadu in South India. So all this genealogy also plays a very, very important role in the study of historiography. Then the territory ruled. Like for example, when you talk about which particular territory was ruled by King Ashoka. So you get the entire the extent. Okay, it started from Subarna Rekha in the east and it expanded right up to the Sindhu Valley, and down south it was up to Godavari, and then further it went up to Tungabhadra. So like that, all this explanation comes under the territory ruled. Administrative strategies, that means how the administration was carried out in by these rulers. Okay, like in Maharashtra we can say administrative, we have the Shiledar, Kiledar, Jamadar, then Patil, Kulkarni. You know, all these people, they were given different activities to administer different territories. Okay, so according to that, all these are basically studied under administrative strategies. Then of course the political events. Now political events means what? What was happening in that particular kingdom. Okay, the political upheavals, ups and downs. Okay, when it comes to one king, then from that one king to the second king, what were the developments, who betrayed whom. Okay, like all these things are coming under political events. Social organizations, when you talk about the social organizations, there were so many social organizations which are operating at that point of time. So even information can be collected from these social organizations which were doing social work, because they make a record of all that work. And you know, Saint Tukaram in Maharashtra was one example. Okay, so even we have proof, literal proof, that during Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj's rule, Tukaram came and met him. Okay, in Pune. So all this is all connected to social organization. Climatology also is very, very important. We talk about the climate. Like in Maharashtra, we have two different climates. One is a humid climate in the coastal region, and we have a dry climate in the plateau region. So from that also we can draw to so many conclusions. Then we have the natural calamities and disasters. Okay, we come to know that which were the various particular calamities and natural disasters which took place, and at what particular time, during whose rule, what happened, what was the aftermath of it. For example, the famines. Okay, then we have the floods, we have the earthquakes. All these, you know, everything was written and kept. Okay, so that is how it really helps a student of geography in understanding all these in detail. I will just have a quick recap of what we have done. Okay, we basically focused in this particular chapter the ancient period, that is the tradition of Indian historiography 2.1, ancient period and medieval period. Then afterwards we went to the Indian tradition. Then we spoke about the historiography in the ancient period through oral recitals. In that, we spoke about the ancestral deeds, mythological folklores. Here we talk about Ramayana and Mahabharata also. They are the most ancient epics of the world, okay, and the greatest voluminous epics of the world, okay. Then, and the oldest, of course, social transitions, Harappan civilization, writing mastery, Harappan script, okay. All these we just finished. Then after that we spoke about the written documents and inscriptions. They were basically in 3rd century BCE during the time of King Ashoka. There were lots of edicts which are found on the stone, pillars and rocks. Then we went to the various particular changes, because from oral sources we are going to the written sources. So you can find the written sources in inscription format, okay, on the stones and pillars and all that, okay. So these are basically found on coins and metals and copper plates and sculptures. Now these provided historical information such as which I explained to you just now, the various particular empires, the kings, the queens, the dynastic and genealogies, territory ruled, administrative strategies, political events, social organizations, climatology, natural calamities, and of course, disasters. Okay, children, we take a break now.